This morning, protesters are getting ready to march on Florida's state capitol in Tallahassee to demand the repeal of Stand Your Ground. That law has come under scrutiny after the shooting deaths of Trayvon Martin and Jordan Davis. Mark Strassman sat down with the mothers of those teenagers for their first TV interview together.
Good morning, Gail, Nora, and Anthony. Both mothers will help lead today's protest, and they want repeal. But the state's legislature seems ready to give the law more ammunition. 9 years ago, Florida was the first of 26 states to pass a Stand Your Ground law. It allows someone in fear of his life to use deadly force to stop an attacker. But opponents say it's a license to kill.
We don't have to have a law in place that says I need to shoot and kill someone and then ask questions later.
Sabrina Fulton and Lucia McBath both lost 17-year-old sons to Florida gunmen who claim self-defense.
These two moms are going to make positive change to make sure that Stand Your Ground doesn't continue to happen.
Fulton's son Trayvon Martin was unarmed when George Zimmerman shot and killed him in 2012.
Not guilty.
The Crime Watch volunteer claimed self-defense. A jury acquitted him. Just last month, McBath watched a jury deadlock in Michael Dunn's murder trial. He claimed self-defense when he shot her unarmed son Jordan Davis during an argument over loud music.
I thought, oh my gosh, Jordan is Trayvon. People who use the Stand Your Ground statutes are able to use it with no accountability. It gives them immunity for their criminal behavior.
But Florida appears ready to expand its Stand Your Ground law, not repeal it. Lawmakers are considering two bills that would allow anyone in fear of his life to fire a warning shot.
I think it's a clarification.
State Representative Neil Comby, one of the bill's sponsors, wants reform for people like Marissa Alexander. In 2012, she fired a warning shot during a domestic dispute. A court rejected her Stand Your Ground claim and sentenced her to 20 years under Florida's gun laws.
It was never the intent to prosecute folks who fired a warning shot or displayed a weapon in a defensive manner to either 10 years or 20 years in a state prison.
If you can fire the warning shot, then how is your life in imminent danger?
I guess it's all about placement, whether you place it in the ground or in the air or in, between somebody's eyes.
Florida lawmakers are now considering whether to expand the law to include warning shots.
I think that's heinous. More lives are at risk. More people will shoot their guns and claim, well, I was just, it was just a warning shot.
Someone who fires a warning shot would have to justify why in court. State Representative Comby told me he expects lawmakers to pass his bill, and he expects Florida's governor to sign it into law.
You guys are good to go? Let me just get this out of here. Unlike some...
The Reverend Al Sharpton led thousands of Floridians in a march in Tallahassee today. Good evening, I'm Julie Montanaro.
And I'm Andy Alcock. That march was in protest of Florida's Stand Your Ground law. An estimated 2,500 people took to the streets today from across Florida. Reverend Al Sharpton led the march. It started just before 10 this morning at the Leon County Civic Center. Protesters say they want the Stand Your Ground law to be repealed. One mother who traveled from Titusville, Florida, says she'll settle for a revision of the legislation.
There's one sentence in that law that needs to be changed because it says that if you feel like you're in imminent danger, and that could happen to anybody. I mean, sometimes people's not even in their right mind to make that kind of a decision.
The march ended at the Florida Capitol, where a 2-hour rally took place.
Florida is an F state. Trayvon Martin's mother made that comment at the rally. First at 6, we have comments from speakers and take a look at their prospects for success.
Florida has a problem. Yeah. And we need to help Florida fix their problem.
Amen. Right. Sabrina Fulton, the mother of Trayvon Martin, and a crowd of an estimated 2,500 demonstrators say that problem is the state's controversial Stand Your Ground law. The 17-year-old Martin was shot and killed during a fight with Neighborhood Watch volunteer George Zimmerman 2 years ago. The law is designed to allow people to use deadly force if they reasonably believe it was necessary to avoid great bodily harm or death. But the crowd of overwhelmingly African-American demonstrators believe, like in the Martin case, the law has been improperly used to justify killing black teens.
I didn't come down here to start trouble. I come down here to stop trouble.
speakers delivered their views from a podium with the Capitol in the background and a fountain with dolphin statues in the foreground. And the protesters may be swimming upstream against the political tide in Tallahassee. State Representative Alan Williams' bill to repeal the law was defeated in committee in November. In this session, there are bills to expand gun laws, not restrict them, including allowing the firing of a warning shot for self-protection.
And we're here because Florida is stuck on stupid. I come too far to give up now.
The mother of Jordan Davis also spoke out against the Stand Your Ground law. Davis was killed when Michael Dunn shot into a car full of teens in an argument over loud music. In this election year, demonstrators said if they can't change the law, they'll change the lawmakers.
Thousands of Floridians across the state in Tallahassee today to say they're standing their ground. Good evening, everyone. I'm A.J. Hilton.
And I'm Julie Montanaro. Civil rights activist the Reverend Al Sharpton led more than 2,000 people in a march to protest Florida's Stand Your Ground law today. Eyewitness News reporter Lenitra Bennett was there. Let's join her in the studio. Lenitra.
Julie and AJ, Tallahassee police say there were about 2,500 people at today's march and rally. Before the march started, the Reverend Al Sharpton told me that this is protesters' way of getting lawmakers' attention. Protesters say they want the Stand Your Ground law to be repealed in Florida.
Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on.
Civil rights activist Reverend Al Sharpton walked arm in arm with the parents of Trayvon Martin and Jordan Davis. Sharpton led them and a couple thousand others in a march in Tallahassee against Florida's Stand Your Ground law. Their chant Monday turned from to
Get rid of it! Now! Get rid of it! Now!
Dorothy Hubbard traveled from Titusville, Florida, where she says a man came into her son's yard on Labor Day of 2012 and shot and killed her son and another man and injured another.
The law should at least state that the person has to have some type of a weapon and give them a chance to retreat. Then it would be standing your ground. But crawling in my son's yard and firing 31 bullets in less than 3 minutes is not standing your ground.
My son didn't get killed by Stand Your Ground, but we haven't gotten any justice for my son, Rashad Morrell. And I'm just here to support all the parents, to let them know that there is parents that's here that is willing to stand by them, you know, through their pain.
Dr. King tore down the walls of segregation with marching. Marching doesn't solve a problem, it exposes a problem. This law is a problem.
The march started at the Leon County Civic Center just before 10 this morning and ended at the Florida Capitol. Busloads of people from across Florida participated. Live in the studio, Lenitra Bennett, WCTV Eyewitness News.
All right, thanks, Lenitra. Big crowd out there today. Following the march, a rally held outside the Capitol. Speaker after speaker, including civil rights activist Reverend Al Sharpton, called for an end to the Stand Your Ground law in Florida and similar laws in other states. The speakers included the mothers of Jordan Davis and Trayvon Martin. Davis was shot and killed over an argument over loud music. Martin was killed in a fight with Neighborhood Watch volunteer George Zimmerman. Martin's mother called Florida an F state.
F is for Florida, because right now, Florida is failing us. Florida is failing our teenagers. Florida is failing our young men and women. Florida has to change this law now.
Florida's Stand Your Ground law allows people not involved in illegal activity use deadly force if they reasonably believe it was necessary to avoid great bodily harm or death. Most recently, State Representative Alan Williams introduced a bill to repeal the law. It was voted down in the House committee in November.